Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're at the spot, the place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You are at the spot, the place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today, we are visiting with Julia Rudakova. We're going to be talking about breath work. I love breath work. I didn't really realize how impactful it could be and how it can change your mood. It can change, actually, you can lose weight. It is the first thing that the Creator gave us was our breath. And that is the
Absolutely.
last thing that will be taken away from us when we die. What do they say? Oh, she took her last breath. So what are you doing in between that space, Brains? How are you utilizing it to calm you, to meditate, to soothe you, get rid of the anxiety? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. And she wrote a book. I'm excited for her to talk about that. So let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Julia?
I'm really, really well. Thank you. Thank you, April, for having me here today.
I love that wall. Did you paint that back there? Or is that how did
It's
you paint
actually a soundproof wall. So
that?
I'm in my clinic, and this is in between rooms. We have this wall so that we have a bit of more confidentiality with clients and the sound doesn't travel to other rooms. So I think it's very smart how they made it. And this is kind of a felt type
Okay.
material.
Yeah, it looks cool. It reminds me of my studio, my other studio that I had, because you have a lot of recording
Yeah,
devices in there. So
yeah.
tell my brains a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Sure. Where do we start? It's been a long journey, and maybe I'll just start with where I am now, and then we can talk about whatever comes up. Um, I'm a naturopath, qualified naturopath, and a breathwork facilitator. I'm educating people about functional breathing and what functional breathing is. It's our baseline of health. So, what I often talk about, April, is five pillars of health. We know about nutrition, right? So, it's one of them. We know about mindset. There's a lot of conversation about mindset, and I'm fully supporting that. And I talk to my clients about choosing the language, like what words we use, how they resonate, how the body responds to that. Very important. Instead of fighting disease, we're getting healthier and energizing and strengthening. So that sort of flip of the language, yeah, from fight into something more positive. And movement is one of them as well, one of those pillars. And of course, breathing. And as you mentioned at the start, this is the most vital function, right? Because this is how we enter this world, this physical world on earth, and this is how we leave it. We know that when we stop breathing, our mission ends here. And with what you said, how it can help you even lose weight and, manage even blood glucose
Mhm.
in our bodies. That is so true. And there are so many mechanisms. So it's not only relaxation. This is kind of the first thing that people think of, that you calm your breath down, you focus on certain types of breathing, and that helps you relax. And this is true. However, there are so many other mechanisms, and even like through that relaxation, because we need to remember that we are made of muscles, like our intestines, they need to move food and nutrients, and they need to contract and relax. So there is musculature there, and muscles need to be able to relax. And what our breathing does is that carbon dioxide that we breathe out, we actually need to retain some of it. That's why I talk about functional breathing. How we breathe. We breathe through the nose, right? Not to lose that precious chemistry, because when the mouth is open, we just let go of so much just because of this
And you
whole.
drool.
Right. Yeah.
Drool.
And that relaxes. So CO2, carbon dioxide is a muscle relaxant, right? It's well known, and we need to utilize that and not to lose it through mouth breathing, through rapid breathing, fast breathing. And it's a skill. So it's a skill to learn because why this is important because people say, well, we breathe anyway. What's the point? Well, we breathe, but our modern life, with all the stresses, with all the chemicals, with all the pollutants, it is a thing, right? We can't just turn a blind eye to that. We live surrounded by it. We have chemicals in our food, in our air, in our water. It is what it is. We created that. We need to deal with that.
Right.
However, and that brings us into this stress response. So for the body, it doesn't matter whether it's emotional stress, mental stress, or it's chemical stress. The body will react in the same way to all those stresses. So that's why kind of relearning that pattern of calmer breathing,
Mhm.
making our body go into this parasympathetic rest and digest, right? And we need to kind of learn that again
Well, I'm going
because,
to ask you to give us a demonstration here in a minute, but there's a couple things that I wanted to touch on.
yeah.
CPAP. I needed a
Hmm.
CPAP. People
Yeah.
do they have them and don't use them. Brains, let me tell you, if you have a CPAP, you better use it because once you get used to it, no, it's not the sexiest thing, but after you kiss your lover and tuck yourself in, put your CPAP on and wake up
Yeah.
before they do and take it off. But the restful sleep, and I was able to get into REM sleep, and
Yes.
it's beautiful. I wake up, I'm refreshed, I'm renewed. Um, and your respiratory. The breathing is so important. There's so many people that have asthma or that smoke still. Am I judging? Absolutely. But but the smoking, it affects your lungs. It can't help. And here in the United States, we have a thing that, people are, you can purchase cannabis everywhere. And they think because it's not nicotine that that smoke does not affect your lungs. You want to take care of that. When you talk about holistic options and a natural path, explain to my brains what is a natural path.
And April, I want to add on of that. So it's not only smoke and other fumes, like from cars and all that,
Uh-huh.
but it's also artificial fragrance.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's called secondhand smoke now too, because it affects it blocks certain receptors in our olfactory system, olfactory meaning our smell, right? And they also act, those artificial fragrances. I mean, I'm not opposed, you can use it from time to time, but it's like regular use daily and being surrounded by that. So
Uh-huh.
they act as semi-hormones, right? And they may contribute to metabolic disease, to like gaining weight, to having thyroid issues, all that jazz, unfortunately. So I'm just adding on to that, what you said.
And we're not even counting your allergies and the pollens in the air
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all of these other
That
things.
is for a reason too. That's because the environment is such that we're not able to cope. Our bodies are so strong. We can cope with molds, we can cope with pollens, but when we have a bit of a weakening for certain reasons, we're not going to go into the reasons today. It's out of our scope for
Right.
this conversation, but that's when it happens. And I also wanted to, so holistic, right? You asked about
Holistic and
holistic. What is
natural
holistic?
path. Hmm.
Yeah, because holistic means a whole, right? We are not detaching systems from each other. So when we go to the conventional medical model, and I'm not dissing it, it's amazing. The work that they do with emergency cases, the work that the microsurgeries that they're able to perform and save people's eyesight and all that, amazing. But in chronic disease management, they fail miserably, April. They do fail. There is nothing that is on offer there that will cure something. It's just management of symptoms and band-aiding and never get into the root cause, maybe because of the time that they have with people. It's 10 minutes here for a GP appointment and specialists as well. Very, very quick turnover of clients. So holistic meaning that we look at the system as a whole. We look at the respiratory as being connected to your gut as well. The gut microbiome will affect what's in your lungs, what's in your sinuses, what microbiome is there. Microbiome meaning bacteria. We carry up to 2 kilos of bacteria in our gut, right? So an adult person up to 2 kilos, and they all do that. It's not bad bacteria. They all do something for us. They help us produce vitamins, digest food, everything. So, and that's the holism that I'm talking about. And also, you mentioned the CPAP. I have to talk about CPAP, April, because I'm a respiratory specialist. I just can't just ignore that. CPAP helps people when there has been good pattern of breathing at night, when there's episodes of apnea. Apnea, you just stop breathing for a reason again.
I stopped breathing 28 times.
Yes, so people go to have a sleep study and they discover how many times a night they stop, for how long, how many seconds they stop breathing for, and that's all good. But what CPAP does, it does give you a little bit of energy as compared to you not breathing. Yeah. So it pushes the air into the system. So you get a bit of more oxygen naturally because you just get it even when you stop breathing, right?
Mhm.
And it's, again, it's not a solution. It's a temporary band-aid, right? And I do take people, so my mission, I do take people off CPAP because we restore and retrain the way they breathe so that they stop having apnea episodes, right? And
What
that's the
happened
healthy
with
way.
me is my respiratory therapist said, weight loss helps considerably. But also, what I had to learn is, again, like you said, had to retrain myself to learn how to breathe through my nose because I was
Correct.
breathing through my mouth.
Yeah. And CPAP doesn't retrain you.
But yeah,
CPAP promotes that same pattern, the old pattern. Yeah.
well, now I found it different. I found that now I am more conscious and I breathe through my nose more so than my mouth because I would wake up and there would be drool, and I was like, "Oh, this is gross."
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah, and then just started thinking about it, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna kind of watch and see what's going on." But with that, and I don't have the mask; I have the little pillows,
Mm.
and I started to really, it's really made for
Oh, you
me.
have the nasal one, April?
Yeah, the little pillows, not the holes, but the little pillows that go under your nose. And I'm
Mm.
telling you, I got to the point where I would take it on my nap. I had a little portable one. It really helped. And yes, there was a weight issue. I needed to lose about 30 pounds. I'm on that journey now.
Mhm.
And that's helping. But he says as soon as I lose that, I can probably get off of the CPAP.
And I just wanted to explain why that weight issue is important to address,
Mhm.
right? So the analogy that I talk about is, imagine that you order a milkshake with, they give you these very big paper straws,
Yes.
very wide, yeah, and when you suck with force, the paper straw collapses, the sides, yeah, when you really, really suck that milkshake. And when you do it gently, the walls remain intact
Right.
and rigid. So that's what happens. And that's where breathing retraining comes into the stage, because when we learn to breathe gentler, so that is the analogy with our airways, yeah? With
Right.
our,
Right. Right. Right.
so the paper straw is our trachea, basically, right? And the weight, the extra weight that we carry, especially like around the neck, face, it just pushes even harder, right? So it's more difficult to take a breath when the body stops breathing and then it wakes you up. So it's yes, it's absolutely correct. Your breathing specialist was absolutely correct about losing weight, and well done.
Well, I love it. And so again, brains, don't let it sit there. If you are using one, use it until your doctor tells you otherwise, or work with someone like Julia that can help you and assist you into changing that pattern and that behavior. so that you are able to breathe. Um, Exercise. I can tell in like 15, 20 minutes. When I breathe even more, I perspire. That opens up my pores. It makes a big difference. Water makes a big difference in your breathing. I find that that works for me. But what I find fascinating is the psychological and neurological work that breath work does with individuals, where there's a pattern of breathing, like three inhales and then you hold for four and then you let out. I mean, you're the expert in that, you know better than I do. But I've done some breath work videos on YouTube, and I have found that it has been very calming. It has allowed me to be more focused. Uh, I find joy. I have a lot more patience. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So when we talk about more calm, right, and more patience, it's always to do with balancing the nervous system because it's the nervous system that drives us to breathe in a certain way, right? So when there is a pattern of stress, anxiety, the breath will change. However, it's a two-way street, so it's automatic, but we can affect it, we can direct it, and that's what you played with as well on YouTube, right? And the trick here, so the most important thing, if you take away one thing, it's to do it slowly, to breathe slowly, because the epidemic of overbreathing that I observe with my clients, it's huge, right? Overbreathing is like overeating. I compare that to overeating. It's not good for us, right? The metabolism changes. So again, if you take away one thing, it would be start breathing slower. So wherever you're at, you can start playing with it. There are no rigid rules. Meet yourself with compassion where you're at. Some clients that I met here in my clinic, they were breathing two in, two out. That is a very, very fast breathing. Yeah.
Mm.
That is fast. That's a lot of breaths per minute. And the saying goes that the slower you breathe, the longer you live. Because the heart doesn't have to exert itself that much. Because, like, even if we think holistically, we think logically, where the heart is here in the chest, the lungs expand, there is mechanical pressure on the heart, right? The slower you breathe, the more you relax the heart, and the longer the heart can function, right? It's just common sense logic.
Let me
So,
ask a question because I want people to be clear. Because breathing slower, does that also mean breathing deeper? That's a different function.
yes, slow and deeper, two different things, right? So, deeper, meaning where the breath is deep, deep in the lungs, in the lower lobes of the lungs, right? Where the diaphragm is, not in your chest. So, sometimes when I observe like a yoga class and they do that, let's take a deep breath, and everyone is inflating their chests, yeah, and doing it big and loud. So, this is a big, shallow breath. So, when you do that, when you inflate your chest, this is big, shallow breath. Big, deep breath is when you use the diaphragm and you expand your lower ribs so the ribs move out, yeah, and that's where the air goes into the bottom of the lungs. Some people, April, have stale air in the bottom of their lungs because they move this part, the upper chest, exclusively, most often than not.
Oh,
Yeah, and some people can't even move the ribs. We need to have a few sessions to relax the diaphragm, to teach those muscles between the ribs to open. Yeah, we forget.
absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the book and the why behind the book.
Oh, yes, yes. So the book was released last year.
A little bit so that they can see it. Like, I want them to run out
Yes, so
and cry. Is that
it's called Your Breathing Coach. Your Breathing Coach. And the name came because I was doing functional breathing program. I have been doing it for years with people. And I always recommend something to read so that it's not only me who delivers the news, this is how you breathe, so that they can get inspired, so that they can see that other people have been researching and investigating this. And the two top books I refer people to is Patrick McEwen's books. He is the authority in the field of breathwork worldwide, and James Nestor. His book, he's a journalist, he's an American journalist, and he has done years of research into that. And his book, I call it a Bible because he looks at all the angles. So I was referring, and then people would bring the books are big. Their books are really big. And they would bring back the books that they purchased and they would look at me and, well, Julia, in a nutshell, what do I need to know from this book? So this is the nutshell, okay? This is the years of research. This is all that I do in 80 pages, right? And it's beautifully illustrated. So there are all the exercises are there, right? So the $880 program that I run, 4 sessions basically in this book for $20, right? Because I really want people to get that. And if they are not clear, then they can come and we can do individualized approach. What's not working for this particular person because everyone is different, right? Everyone comes with their own baggage, with their own history, and that's very valuable. So people really, really appreciated that to have that condensed version of everything that I teach, everything that I've been talking for years. And it took some time to condense that knowledge into this,
Right.
little
Everyday life.
pages.
I'm sure that those two scholars, you know, at a lot more in depth, more detailed, kind of
Yes.
over,
Yeah.
overshared for the person like me that just really want to get to the nuts and bolts. Well, you know what? I appreciate that. Let's talk also about one last thing about the breath when it goes into meditation. Now, I'm sure that you use a lot of modalities such as maybe meditation in your work with your clients or personally. How does that take us to a different mindset? How does that take us to a deeper state of consciousness through the breath?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's a huge question, actually. But what I want to say on this is when we focus, because breath work is the best meditation, right? There are different perceptions about what meditation is, whether it's clearing your mind and not thinking about anything, whether it's focusing on one thing, and it's all true. You can have different approaches and it will be correct, all of that. But when we do breath meditation, it's that bridge that brings you back, connects the mind and the body, brings you back in the body, right? Not outside thinking of all the problems, but being in the body. And nothing else exists. When you just focus on your breath, it's impossible physiologically, mentally to think of anything else. When you start counting the breath, when you start thinking about how much air you feel on the upper lip, right? When you breathe in and out, how much comes out of your nostrils, what's happening with the diaphragm when you start scanning the body and seeing whether you engage in the chest, how the shoulders, whether they're relaxed, how your face is relaxed or not, or you feel the tensions. So just that thing, that scanning and focus on the breath brings you in and nothing else exists. And you are you for that moment. You are you. And when you make that connection, it's so much easier to make decisions out of you, not out of external circumstances, out of how you feel, because the body speaks. There is a language that the body uses with all the discomforts and aches and pains, and they mean something. And when you're in the body, you can actually start listening to that language as well.
How did you find yourself in this space?
How do you find yourself in this space?
How did you find yourself in this particular space of doing breath
In
work?
in the space of breath work. Well, my story, it started long time ago. I was a sickly child. I always had respiratory issues. And I was lucky to have a bit of more holistic approach where I grew up. So they used conventional medicine and alternative medicine. And then I started having children, and they started having issues. And I just, you want the best for your children. And I just discovered this new world that you can help yourself with other means than just medication. And we have a whole pharmacy inside of us. So with the breath work, I talk about all the chemicals that our body produces that we can, like antimicrobial nitric oxide in the nasal cavity, right?
Wow.
So you can fight viruses. It's your own first line of defense, right? So that sort of thing. So it's just through my personal struggles and research and wanting to be a better mum, I suppose, and yeah, a better
That's
human
huge
in the end.
because, you know, again, people take the breath for granted. They really do take it for granted until you can't breathe, until you're gasping for air, or you've walked that mile and you feel renewed and refreshed because you've gotten rid of some of the carbon dioxide and taken in fresh oxygen, had that water, you've had that release, or if you just have quiet time and you just want to connect with source energy through the breath, um, relax. So don't take it for granted. It has so many wonderful functions. And thank you, Julia, for dedicating the work and writing the book. Let's ask you some fun questions. Okay? I like to do.
Yeah.
If you were a car, what kind of car would you be?
I always like to just blurt out what first comes to me, right? That would be so the first thing that came to me is the red sports car.
Okay. Any particular one? You want a Porsche? You want a Fiat? You want a Maserati? What do you want?
I don't know, Ferrari came to mind.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You like them fast. You know what I'd be? I'd be a 1974 VW van
Yeah.
with the flowers painted on the side and a
I
hoop.
like VW. Oh,
Oh, yeah. What do you guys call them there in Australia? You call them caravans, kind of.
um, yeah, just a van. Yeah.
Just, just a van? Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that I would do that. Uh, what is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal, they're actually few. They're actually few. One of them is eagle.
Mm,
Not the American one, the other one,
okay.
the gray.
Why do you relate to the eagle?
It flies high, and the strength of the wings, in that kind of position where they make their nests and that higher ground, I suppose, like a big vision, I suppose. That's just what comes to me when I speak to you.
That makes sense. If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
I don't know. I don't relate to appliances.
Oh, yeah. Everybody could be an appliance in the kitchen.
We had, that Guess Who game? There is a version with appliances actually and utensils, not the faces.
Like the utensils?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. I think I want to be the refrigerator. I just want,
Really?
yeah, I want to be the place
Oh,
that you just hang out and chill.
chill. Right. Right.
Hang out and chill. If you could encourage someone right now that is just, I don't know, I don't want to say, maybe I ought to phrase the question this way. What is the ideal person to come to your clinic for breath work?
An ideal person.
Like, yeah, I mean, what signs, symptoms, needs, desires would they have or want, and you find that that be beneficial for them to come to your clinic?
Well, firstly, they would be struggling with respiratory issues or any sort of chronic issues that haven't gone away with other approaches. So it's kind of I'm specializing in complex cases really, and I think my gift is to break it down into simple things and give people simple steps that actually work.
Okay. That's good. That's practical because again, people are overthinking everything right now. What advice would you give a person that is wanting to write a book for the first time? What did you learn from that experience?
I learned, not learned, I went back. because during COVID, I kind of let go of that, of self-discipline. I mean, I like to say that we're all disciplined, but in different things. You can be disciplined in, devoting time to Netflix watching, or you can be disciplined to sit down and write a book. So it's just finding that time, creating, not finding, creating the time to sit down every morning, yeah, and writing.
Mm,
So it's the consistency, the feeling that why, because I really want people to thrive
right.
and have something affordable that they can use.
Absolutely.
And that was that for me.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us on the edge. You have been a valuable resource, and now we all know how to catch our breath. Please tell us how to get in contact with you. I'd love for you to, I don't know if you do consultations, uh, all
Online, I consult people from all over the world, and the website is oxygenrevolution.com.au.
oxygenrevolution.com.au. I'm going to put all of our information at the back of the interview. Brains, I want you to stop and catch your breath here on the edge. Go like, love, share other edgy conversations. We have everything from, again, more in depth, holistic, natural paths that have different modalities that would complement what Julia has just provided. We've got music, arts, entertainment, fun, just some good conversation with some super great people. Thank you, Julia, for being here on the edge with us. We send you the highest and greatest good.
Thanks, April.
Bye, brains. Have a good day.